Hi, in this video we'll be focusing on subtracting integers. Now if you have not watched my video on adding integers yet, I would strongly advise that you watch that video because this one refers to that one a few times, and it's important for you to understand that adding, that base, that important beginning of this topic before moving on to the subtraction. Alright, with that said, let's begin. So finding the difference or subtracting is the same thing as adding a negative. So I'll write that down because it's pretty important. Subtracting is the same as adding a negative. All right. That said, if you prefer, you could also write this problem as 5 plus negative 7. All right, with that visual in mind, now we can use the methods that we learned before in order to find the difference. We can use a number line. So let's say we have, let's make this 6, 5, 4, sounds like a countdown, which it is, I suppose. 0, negative 1, negative 2. All right, hopefully that's enough. All right, so we are going to start off at our 5. And we are going to move. Remember that on the number line, the negative moves us to the left. So we are going to move to the left 7 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we actually have just enough. And our answer is where we end up, which is negative 2. All right, we can also think of doing this very same problem with the money method that we discussed in the adding video. So remember that in the money method, we think of our positive numbers, or the numbers that don't have a sign, which are positive, as money that we have. And we think of our negative, or numbers after the subtraction sign, as money that we owe. So if we have $5, yay, but we owe somebody $7, boo, we cannot pay them back everything. We would still owe $2, which makes sense because that's what we got here, negative 2. All right, so the third method that we looked at in our first video was a method that should really help us with larger numbers. So let's turn the page and look at that third method before we end this video. Okay, so here we have some bigger numbers. We have negative 21 minus 53. All right, so the first thing that's important to remember is that it's the same. Subtracting numbers is the same as just adding a negative. All right, so now adding a negative, we already went over that in the other video, but the rule that's important to remember, I will remind you here and now. Okay, so it is important to remember that when adding numbers with the same sign, there we go, same sign, we have a negative here and we have a negative here, you have to do two things. All right, so I'm going to put that reminder here, and this is just for same sign addition. When adding numbers with the same sign, you add the absolute values and you keep the sign. Whatever that same sign was, you keep that sign. All right, so in this particular case, the absolute value of negative 21 should be added to the absolute value of negative 53. And remember that absolute value just means the distance from 0. So that absolute value of negative 21 is just 21. And that should be added to 53. And when you add 21 and 53, you get 74. But that is not the answer. It's very important to remember to preserve the sign. So we were adding two negatives. And so we have negative 74. So our answer here is negative 74. All right, so just by remembering that the rules will be the same for addition and subtraction, that's very helpful. Remember that subtracting is really just adding a negative, and you should be okay. But this is a topic that you should practice a lot because you'll be needing it for a long time to come. Good luck.